Hi, this is Anna Bevan Gravely with NCFREE, and I am joined by Tricia Shields, who's running for Court of Appeals in 2020. Hey, Tricia, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Anna. I'm so happy to be here and happy to see you this morning. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and your members.
Awesome, awesome. So is there anything you'd like to share with us before we get started?
Sure, absolutely. So I just wanted to start by introducing myself. Again, my name is Tricia Shields. I am a North Carolina native. I live in Wake County, specifically in Cary. I went to Wake Forest University undergrad, and then I put myself through UNC Law School. Graduated from there in 1985, and from there I was very fortunate to begin my career as a law clerk to Chief Judge Hedrick at the North Carolina Court of Appeals. And for those of you that do not know him, Judge Hedrick was just a delightful person, a bit of a curmudgeon, a real student of the law, a delight to work for. And he also happened to be blind. So what that meant for me, my experience was different from a lot of other people that clerk. I spent all day, every day with him in his office, studying the law, reading the records, reading the briefs. And it was a wonderful education. And I learned so much from Judge Hedrick. So from that, I went into private practice of law, which I've done for the past 33 years. I joined the Raleigh law firm of Bailey and Dixon, which is a relatively small civil defense firm. So throughout my whole career, I have defended, generally speaking, I've had a wide variety of cases, but generally speaking, I have defended individuals who have been sued in civil lawsuits, and I've represented businesses in civil lawsuits, both as plaintiffs and defendants in different kinds of cases. Some very small cases, some very large commercial cases. So I've had a huge variety of experience. In addition, one of the things that I have done is some administrative law. Occupational licensing work. One of my clients is the Board for Engineers and Surveyors. Another is Board for General Contractors. So I represent those boards, and then I represent individuals in front of other kinds of licensing boards, like the medical board or the state bar, and that kind of thing. So that's a different kind of experience than a lot of folks have. In addition, what I wanted to say is I've been a career-long member of an association called the North Carolina Association of Defense Attorneys. That's a group of lawyers whose practice, like mine, is generally representing individuals who have been sued in lawsuits and businesses in lawsuits. And I was very blessed to serve as the president of that organization in 2011 to 2012. So it's very near and dear to my heart. And then the final thing, well, let's see, also about my practice, in addition to my private practice. And so I went from Bailey and Dixon to a big law firm called Troutman Sanders, and now I'm with Hedrick Gardner, practicing in our Raleigh office. And for the past 7 years, in addition to that, I have taught trial advocacy at Campbell Law School, which has been a joy and a delight, a lot of fun to do. And so in addition to professionally, I am the mother of 2 grown sons who are both gainfully employed, which is wonderful. My youngest, now that we're in the pandemic, has spent a couple of months at home with us until he got far too bored living with his parents. And so now he's gone back to Washington, D.C. And so that's me in a nutshell. I'm very excited about the opportunity, this opportunity to run for the Court of Appeals. I'm looking forward to serving on the Court of Appeals. I bring a broad breadth of experience to that job. And so I'm excited to look forward to serving North Carolina in that way.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We'll just dive right into the questions.
Okay.
Which one of the current or recent U.S. Supreme Court justices best reflects your judicial philosophy?
So, and I am asked that question a lot. And I have thought about that question, and I have studied that question. And the answer, frankly, for me is I don't think any of them actually represent my judicial philosophy. People tend to categorize the Supreme Court justices as either liberal or conservative, a strict constructionist, or a living document kind of person. And I don't personally believe that I fit neatly into any of those boxes, particularly when it comes to our North Carolina Court of Appeals. Judges, in my opinion, and especially on our Court of Appeals, their obligation is to follow the law. And that includes the Constitution, the statutes that are enacted by the legislature, and also the precedent. The Supreme Court has provided a lot of guidance our North Carolina Supreme Court on how laws and the Constitution are to be interpreted. So I believe that is the job of the North Carolina Court of Appeals judge. I can give you the name of a judge who I think does reflect my judicial philosophy, and that is my dear friend, Judge Linda Stevens, who served on the Court of Appeals for 11 years and now actually practices law with me. And I know Judge Stevens very well. She was a mentor of mine before she went on to the court, and has been somebody that has been very influential on me. And it was her belief that a judge is to follow the law as it is written, to interpret it as it is written, regardless of that judge's personal opinions. Mm-hmm. And I saw that in real life. I appeared in front of her a number of times, and I won some, but I lost some too. Mm-hmm. But I respected her decisions always, because I know that she made the decision that she believed that the law required her to make. And so I have a great deal of respect for her, and that is the person that I think my judicial philosophy lines up with most closely.
Yeah, and so you touched on it a little bit, but would you go into greater detail about what your judicial philosophy is?
Sure, absolutely. That's a very important question. I mean, I believe that it is the job of a judge to follow the law as it's written, mm-hmm. to apply it fairly and consistently in all cases and to all parties. You should not get a different result a different day in a different courtroom. Mm-hmm. Our Constitution has divided our government into 3 branches, mm-hmm. and it is my belief that each branch should stay in its lane. Now, part of the lane, of course, of the courts is to determine whether the acts of the other branch of the government have been are consistent with the Constitution. So that's part of the job of a judge, is to interpret the laws, right, and to apply the Constitution. And as I said before, there's a lot of guidance from our Supreme Court about how that process should be followed. But an individual person's political opinions and philosophies, in my view, should have no impact on the decisions that they make as a judge. This is a necessarily partisan process because of the way that we get judges onto our courts. But I will tell you, and I personally have a lot of bipartisan support from both Democrats and Republicans. And I believe that it is important for people to feel confident that the judiciary will decide the cases consistently and evenly to all parties. And in fact, that's been something I've learned over the years in my own practice, representing people in litigation, both people and businesses. My clients will ask me and have asked me, what does the law require of me here? What should I do? How do I evaluate the lawsuit? And how should I handle my business? And it is important for the law to be consistent so that you can give people advice and so that they can determine an appropriate course of action. So I think it's very important for judges to be aware of that and cognizant of that and apply the law fairly and consistently to everybody. So that's in a nutshell, my judicial philosophy.
Well, thank you. And what would you say are the key principles of free enterprise?
So in my view, and I'm not an economist, I'm a lawyer, but in my view, the key principles are free competition, that prices, services, goods are set by the market and not by the government, and that people have the right to pursue businesses without undue interference from the government. Now, and I say undue, and that doesn't mean without any, government regulation. For example, I'd mentioned before that one of the parts of my practice has been working with occupational licensing boards. So of course the government requires certain professions, for example, to have licenses. Doctors, lawyers, my clients, general contractors and engineers. And so that's a government regulation. And I think that serves both individuals and businesses. For individuals, of course, the point is to make sure that people that are engaging in certain professions have certain levels of competence, and that's to protect the public. And of course, that kind of regulation also protects legitimate business people, that they're not having to be in competition with people who are not competent or who are engaging in fraudulent kinds of activities. So some government regulation, of course, is necessary. But people should generally, once they meet that level of competence, should be free to engage in those businesses. And the government, for example, should not be able to determine how much a lawyer charges for their service, for example, or how much a client's willing to pay. So that's my personal view on what that means.
Yeah, awesome. What kind of jobs, interests, volunteer activities did you have during school and law school?
Okay, well, so I've worked since I was 15. I don't think I have ever been not employed. So all through college, all through law school, I worked while I was in school in, retail, restaurants. And for those of you that are in the Winston-Salem area, I worked at Vincenzo's for all through college, which was wonderful. And I got to eat for free, which was even better. And so I enjoyed that very much. In addition, and also in college at Wake Forest, they had an indoor tennis center that I helped to run there. In college, I was a member of a sorority, which had both, of course, a social and a service component. Back then, Wake Forest did not have national sororities. We had our own that we'd kind of made up. Another thing that I did when I was in college, there was a class I took as a sophomore, and I don't remember what the class was, but somehow I ended up, as part of that class, volunteering at a local retirement home. And then after the class was over, that was something I just continued throughout my college years at Wake Forest. And in law school, I also worked. I worked at Pizza Hut during the school year, and I worked in law jobs in the summer. And so that and law school took up a lot of my time. But in addition, I was an articles editor for UNC's Journal of International Law and Commercial Regulation, right? Which took a great... I know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was riveting. But so that took a lot of my time too. So those are the things that I did when I was in college and law school.
Awesome. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment in your legal career and in your personal life?
So I'd like to give you two in my legal career. One just recently happened, just last week. I was very honored, very, very honored. The North Carolina Association of Defense Attorneys has two awards it gives out every year. And the oldest award that it has is the J. Robert Elster Award for Professional Excellence. It does not give it out every year, and it is intended to recognize attorneys that are both skilled at what they do, but also meet the highest ethical standards. And I was given that award last week by the association.
Wow, congratulations. It's so new.
Yeah, it was really, really exciting, and I was very surprised to get it. In fact, a friend of mine that in the association called me to let me know that I was getting it. I thought he was calling me to tell me that he wanted me to present it to someone. And so I was profoundly honored to get that award. So that's new and that's big. The other one I wanted to mention is, as I told you, for the past 7 years, I have been teaching at Campbell Law School, and I teach trial advocacy there. So I am helping to form the next generation of lawyers. And that has been, I'm not a professional educator, and one thing I've learned is you do something long enough and you actually do learn some things that you can pass on to other people. And that has been just a joy, to a surprising level. And I have enjoyed it so much. And for me, like, there have been a couple of times I've had everyone at Campbell has to take trial advocacy. And there are some people that don't believe they're going to be trial lawyers. And my orientation in that class is that this is a skill that can be learned. If you're smart enough to get into law school, you can do this. And that's always my focus. And a couple of times I've had, like, one young man afterwards said, I remember you said the first day that this is something all of us could learn to do. And I thought, you're crazy, lady. I will never be able to do this. And then at the end of the semester, he said, but I found out I can. And I think I do want to be a trial lawyer. And so to be able to impact young people that way has been very, very meaningful to me. And in my personal life, my proudest accomplishment is my two sons. They have, I've found myself single when my oldest was in his first year of college, and I managed to educate them both. They have both gotten both college and graduate degrees with no debt at all. And I'm very, very pleased about that. That's something we did together as a family. We worked hard as a family to make that happen. And both of them are employed, which is wonderful. And both of them are very, very fine young men. And I'm as proud of them as a mother can be. So that's my biggest accomplishment of my entire lifetime.
Awesome. Awesome. What is your vision for the future of the judicial system? What changes would you advocate and why?
Well, we're in a really interesting time right now, right? We are learning a lot about different ways to do things. And I think that one lesson we can all take from this pandemic is that there are things that we can do in different ways. Our state courts have been very behind on technology. And this is something actually the Chief Justice had started focusing on before the pandemic started. But in federal court, for example, everything can be filed electronically, and that is not true in most of our state courts still. And obviously we need to get current on that. But in addition, you know, now I've been participating in hearings just like this by WebEx or Zoom and remotely. And I think we're fine. And I think this is something we should continue into the future and continue to explore. It helps both with access to the courts for people. It helps with transparency. I think that the more access people have to the courts and the more that they know about the courts, the more confidence they can have in the system and the more that they can see what they believe needs to be changed and where they can participate and impact. And for example, just like this, right? Then the more people will know about the people that they're voting for since our judges are elected. In addition, being able to participate in hearings by this manner means that people could be free to hire lawyers from all over the state, right? They could still go to court in Wake County if they're in Buncombe County or Dare County and participate that way. And it helps people find the lawyers that they really prefer to work with, and they're not as disadvantaged. And it's frankly, this is a lot more economical for clients. I mean, clients are not having to pay us to travel to court because we're doing it this way. Now, not every courthouse is able to do this right now, but Wake County, where I practice and live, has been in the forefront of this. And I've had a number of remote meetings, and it's gone very, very well. Once lawyers get started, we get into that groove and we make those arguments and the judges participate. Now, of course, there's challenges with that. There's challenges. You could not, I don't believe you could have a jury trial, for example, remotely. And so those are things that we have to figure out how we can make things more efficient. But I think this moment in time has forced us to examine a lot of things and a lot of the traditional ways of doing things. And I think that there are big lessons to be learned. And I think some of this will continue, and I hope that it does. And I think we should continue to be creative and think about different ways that we could use technology, because I think it serves everyone better.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about it like that, but I really like your perspective. And so I've really enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much for making time for a conversation with me and to share a little bit more about you with the membership of NCFREE. Where can our members go to learn more about you?
Okay, thank you for asking that. My website is shieldsforjudge.com. You can email me at shieldsforjudge@gmail.com. I have a Facebook page, which I try to post on frequently. It's Tricia Shields for Court of Appeals. I'm not so good at Twitter, but so my medium of choice is Facebook. But by all means, if anybody has a question, you know, you can email me and you can visit my website. And I love, you know, the one thing about remote campaigning, what I'm doing, I am talking to people on the phone all day, every day. And I am happy to talk to folks. I'm happy to correspond with folks. So I very, very much appreciate this opportunity, and I truly do.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day, and
Thank
good luck
you.
on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.